Hello, my friend. If you are a Windows developer and you're looking for some tips or some inspiration on some different tools that you can try out that will help you become a better Windows developer, then this, my friend, is the video for you. So if you haven't come across my channel before, my name is John and I do weekly YouTube videos and things like developer productivity, coding tips, all that kind of beautiful stuff. So if you haven't, don't be a numpty, click on the subscribe button right now because that will make you a legend. Also, if you want to do me a solid and help this channel out, click on the like button because it will help the YouTube algorithm show my videos to more people, and as a little reward, I'll show you a picture of a stupid looking goldfish. So, assuming you've clicked on like and subscribe, let's go on and have a look at some of these tools which can help you become a better developer. To kickstart this tour off, I'm going to talk about the two most commonly used tools by software developers, the IDE and the terminal, and then as we go on, I'm going to go through the lesser known tools. So if you stick around to the end, you are going to learn about something brand new that you've never used before, which will be super cool. So when it comes to development, I predominantly do two flavors of development. So I do JavaScript development and C# development. So when it comes to JavaScript development, I use Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code, pretty sure most people watching this who are experienced will have come across it. It is the most used IDE on the planet. It's got about 50 to 60% market share. Everyone uses it. So you can go to code.visualstudio.com, download the free Windows version. Now the reason why I think Visual Studio Code has taken a lot of the market share is because it's very customizable. So as soon as you load Visual Studio Code up, you've got a plethora of different extensions and themes that you can install, so you completely customize how the IDE works. You can learn how to completely set up your Visual Studio like this one here with a video tutorial that I've done previously, and it's linked to below. So let's look at some of the unique things. At the top you can see that we've got the import size, which is really handy. We've got some rainbow color indents going on here. We've got some handy little icons which allow us to differentiate things in the Solution Explorer a little bit nicer. We've also got access to a Postman style REST API client, so I can test APIs out directly in Visual Studio Code. I've also got a project manager extension where I've got access to all my Git repositories and all my most used extensions and websites within VS Code. If this type of setup is of interest to you, I recommend you check out that video. I use Visual Studio Code for my JavaScript development. Next, let's look at the IDE that I use for C# development. I'm guessing this won't be a shock to anyone. For the C# development, I still use Visual Studio. This is an example of Visual Studio in action. As you can see, my setup again is very customized. I have also done a Visual Studio 2022 video, linked below, so you can learn how to configure your Visual Studio exactly the same. Now, some of the things you can see going on straight here, again, we've got that color indent rainbow. You can see that we've got these real-time inline edit errors coming up. We've got some stuff like custom icons. We've also got ReSharper and refactoring tools. So CodeMade and ReSharper are two tools that I recommend. Aside from the IDE, the next most used tool by every single developer is the terminal. When it comes to Windows, the command prompt out of the box glows goats. This is where the new Windows Terminal comes into play. Windows Terminal is free. It's available to download from Windows Store. Now, Windows Terminal, if you haven't come across it, is amazing. I recommend you check it out. Now, one of the reasons why it's amazing is because you can customize the look and feel of your terminal. So, as you can see on screen, this is one example of my terminal. Now, again, I've done videos on how to configure all of this in some different videos. One of the nice things with terminal is that you can use PowerShell, you can use the command prompts. Through something called WSL2, we can even install Ubuntu on Windows so we can run a bash prompt natively in Windows. You can see that I'm creating multiple different panes inside of my terminal. I've also got my PowerShell, so if I start typing, you can see that I've got some autocomplete going on. So if you want to learn how to level up your prompts, again, two videos to do either flavor. With the IDEs and terminals covered, let's get into the more interesting and lesser well-known tools. If you're a Windows developer, you should have Microsoft PowerToys installed. Created by Microsoft, free to install, PowerToys is basically a suite of development tools which is going to make it much easier for you to write code. The main one which I find makes me more productive is this zone builder. So it's possible to create these different types of zones on your PC. I've created just a left and right simple one, and then using the shift button, you can easily snap your windows into the zones. If you're doing Windows development, you have your IDE, your terminal, maybe Google Chrome open, then being able to snap things into a grid makes it much easier than constantly having to try and realign everything precisely. Aside from just having the builder like that, we also have the option of a color picker. So doing Windows C, you can see we've got this little hex code picker. Clicking on it, I can quickly just do a copy to get a color. The other nice feature of Windows PowerToys is the application launcher. So just do Alt and space, and you can see that I can open up any application without having to go to the start menu. Being able to do more work just from the keyboard is going to make you that much more efficient. Now, next up, let's quickly talk about Zoomit. So Zoomit is another Microsoft tool, free to download. Zoomit is the thing which allows me to start doing these little boxes or drawing these little arrows on screen. Nowadays, after COVID pandemic, most of us are working from home. So on a regular basis, we probably have to show code off. We have to do code reviews, all that kind of stuff. So being able to actually focus in on areas in your code, point to different things, has made it much easier to talk about code with people. Now, next up is a tool that's brand new. I've also done a video specifically on this, and it is called DevToys. If you want to see that video, you can click on the link. So DevToys is basically the Swiss Army knife of development. You can see after you install DevToys, you get this rather nice looking UI. You get about 25 different tools. So in here you have things like your regular expression tester. We've got, hash generators, color blindness simulators, JSON formatters, text case converters. These really are like all the typical things you might need to do on a day-to-day basis. We also have the Greenshot. So Greenshot is a screenshot capturing tool. So with Greenshot, all I need to do is just do a print screen. As you can see here, I can start saving an image to the desktop. I can open the image in an editor. I can start messing around with things. So again, if you're doing code reviews, doing tutorials, blogs, videos, being able to quickly take a screenshot and then annotate it within a visual editor is really handy. Another really handy tool is called Dicto Clipboard Manager. So you can download Dicto from the Windows Store. Now let's be honest, when we're doing Windows development, sometimes we write some code and then rely on the undo. And what can happen is that as you're copying and pasting things, it's very common to accidentally lose stuff in your clipboard, and this means you might have to undo, redo, potentially you might lose code. Now this is where the Dicto Clipboard Manager comes in handy. With Dicto installed, you'll see that you get a little icon down the bottom here, and what it simply does is it keeps a history of all your clipboard for now and forever. As you're doing development, as you're copying and pasting code, you don't need to worry that you're going to lose all that code in your clipboard history. You can simply fire up Dicto and you can get access to things. If I'm honest, Dicto has saved me loads of time. I've been able to search the Dicto clipboard, get access to that code, and completely nail it. As a developer, I think one of Windows' most annoying features is the search. Typically, when we're working with projects, we may work with thousands of files, and often we'll need to search for a particular file. Now, if you use the out-of-the-box Windows search, expect to wait between 30 and 60 seconds. This is just too long. This is why I recommend you install a free search indexing tool called Everything. Everything will give you instantaneous results. So after installing it, it will index your website, index all your code files, and then simply searching for a file will update in real time within a few seconds. And this is going to be much more powerful compared to using boring Windows search. Next up, I want to talk about a program called LiceCap. LiceCap will basically allow you to record little GIFs based on what you're doing on screen. If you're doing some refactoring, you're doing a code review, you want to actually show someone how to follow the steps in like a video that you've done or on a README, being able to create a quick video, this can really aid in communication when you're trying to explain to someone the steps that they need to follow. We also have Rescue Time. So Rescue Time is a time tracking app. After installing it, it's basically going to monitor your PC use. So I can log into a Rescue Time. After I've logged into Rescue Time, I'll then get access to, how often I've been using my PC, the apps I've been doing, where my breakdown is. You'll also get a weekly email summarizing all of this. Sometimes merges can go wrong, and in those instances, it's really handy to have a folder comparison tool. The one I use on Windows, and I think is the best one, and I've used a lot of them, is called WinMerge. So WinMerge will allow you to do files and folder comparisons, fire up either file or project, see all the differences, and be able to sync them up or mirror them really easily. The next tool is really handy to help you sleep at night. So one of the key things about being productive is having the right amount of sleep. And we all know nowadays that if we look at our phones or computer monitor before we go to bed, it's going to prevent us sleeping quickly. And this is where Flux comes into play. So what Flux does is that once you install it, you set your location, and then what will happen is that as day turns to night, your monitor will start going from normal white to sort of like a yellowy tint, and as it gets later and later, the less blue light is going to be displayed from your monitor. And this is basically going to help you sleep easier and allow you to switch off at the end of the day. So Flux is free. I've been using it for years, especially when it kicks in, you don't even notice it, and yet it will help you sleep easier and quicker. So I recommend you give it a try. If you are a Windows developer, one thing which is fairly typical, and it can happen in a lot of instances, is that when you're doing some development or you're running an application, things can get locked. So what will happen with a lock hunter is that you'll get an option here which says what is locking this folder or file. Clicking on this is basically then going to allow you to find the process that's been locking your IDE, file, program, whatever, and then clicking unlock or the delete option is going to allow you to get on with things. The lock hunter is essential, I think, for any C# developer to allow you to build websites really quickly. Another really useful .NET tool is called DotPeak. So what happens with DotPeak is that once you install it, you can put any of your C# assemblies, even your VB assemblies in here. And as you can see, you can break down all the different namespaces. You can see all the different classes. Clicking on it, you can start decompiling the source code. So you can actually see the code that's been constructed within the third-party packages that you're using. So again, this is really handy, especially if you're working on solutions that aren't open source. Being able to open up your assemblies, have a look through, seeing how they've been composed is going to be really, really useful. Next up is FileZilla. Now FileZilla is a great free FTP solution. So if you need to copy your website files from your local development machine onto your web host, FileZilla has all the features you need. You can remember passwords, all that kind of stuff in here. After we have FileZilla, another useful tool that I use all the time is GIMP. So GIMP is basically just a photo editor. The reason why I like GIMP is because it's open source. GIMP will work on Mac and Windows, and if like me you need to switch between the two, being able to only having to learn one tool and then being able to use that tool on Windows and Mac is much easier than having to learn two different tools and constantly switch between them. Another really handy tool that I recommend is Crap Cleaner. Crap Cleaner, been around for ages. I'm sure most Windows users know of it. It's going to kill all the malware. It's going to allow you to just clean all your temp files and all that kind of stuff. So another really handy tool. If you find yourself needing to constantly connect to loads of remote servers and you find that the normal Windows remote desktop is a bit limiting, then this is where MRemoteNG comes into play. MRemote is really handy because it allows you to manage multiple connections. You can import and export your settings, so you can transfer stuff onto another computer really easily. It will also store multiple usernames and passwords, so you don't have to constantly remember things. When you're doing Windows development, sometimes it's very easy to lose massive amounts of chunks of your hard disk. When you don't know where it's all going, I recommend that you do TreeSizeFree. TreeSizeFree will basically give you a complete breakdown of all the files within your PC, and it will give you breakdown of the size, the allocation, the percent. So if you find yourself running low on space, TreeSizeFree is my go-to tool to fix that. When it comes to PDF viewing, I use Foxit PDF. It's a really great PDF viewer. I've been using it. It's lightweight. It opens really quickly. I've got no complaints with it, so recommend you check it out. For recording these YouTube videos, like probably most streamers out there, I use OBS Studio. OBS works on Windows and Mac. It's free, open source. It really is amazing. If I'm doing zip files, 7-zip is free. It works. It's really quick. I won't show you this because unzipping a file is not that interesting. In terms of SQL development, creating a database, I always use MS SQL, and I always use MS SQL, and I make sure that I install the version which has SSMS, so the Management Studio version as well. Again, it's free, you don't need to pay anything. So that concludes my list of amazing developer tools that you can use that will make you absolutely epic at development. So what do you think of that list? Have I missed out your favourite tool? If I have, all I can say is get over it. I would be interested to know though if you think I've missed out a really useful tool. I'm always looking for new content, new ideas, new ways of making myself a better developer. So yeah, any feedback you have, I respond to everything. Super interested to hear it. Now, if you have liked this content and you made it all the way to the end, then thank you. You are an absolute legend, and I consider you one of my best friends. So now that we are best friends, and I wouldn't just say that just to get you to do something for me. Best friend, if you want to support your other best friend out, then click on the like button and smash the subscribe button. Smashing on subscribe basically makes you an absolute legend, a genius, an all-round good person. It also makes you a lot more attractive as well. If you're also interested in learning more about some useful, handy developer tools, I do a weekly newsletter which has all the programs that I'm learning about as I go along. It's free, you can unsubscribe, you won't get spammed, just me tippy-tapping away. Links below for that. Otherwise, I hope you've had fun watching this video. Hope you're having an amazing time wherever you are. I hope you have become a legend and hit subscribe. Don't want to be one of those idiots who haven't done that. Aside from that, have a great day wherever you are, and until next time, happy coding!